In the book of Daniel, chapter 7, the third beast is described as a leopard with 4 wings and 4 heads. Many believe it to be the kingdom of Greece under Alexander the Great.
After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
Notice 2 things. 1. According to the word order, the another like a leopard was only granted jurisdiction or dominion after it got 4 heads. Historically, it was after the death of Alexander the Great, Alexander III of Macedon, that his kingdom was divided among his 4 generals. 2. The dominion was given not to the 4 heads or any one of them but to the beast itself. Eventually, the 4 heads or kingdoms of the Greeks after Alexander came to be non-existent. The Romans had supplanted them in many places, and after a few centuries, the Romans gave them a dominion to rule, the eastern half of the Roman Empire, which became known later as the Byzantine Empire. The Greeks did not acquire it through conquest. Who were the Byzantines? If the third beast was only granted jurisdiction or dominion after its 4 heads had appeared, then that would mean the granted jurisdiction had nothing to do with the conquests of the third beast under Alexander, right? But, in Daniel's interpretation of Nebuchadnezzar's dream in chapter 2 regarding the gold, silver, and brass kingdoms which correspond to chapter 7's first, second, and third beasts, he said to the king,
"And after thee shall arise another kingdom, inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth."
In the original manuscripts, this part of the book is in Aramaic, and the Aramaic word for earth is defined as the Aramaic word for inferior is the same Aramaic word for earth, which are both used in the verse. Silver is inferior to gold, but being inferior in relation to earth, which is in singular form, may have another or additional sense of meaning in the verse. It is widely believed that the phrase, "which shall bear rule over all the earth," refers to Alexander's reign over the empire he ruled, which was considered one of the biggest at the time, and was commonly supposed to be the dominion given to the third beast in chapter 7. Yet, it appears that is not the way the phrase should be understood because, aside from the fact that inferior and earth came from one and the same Aramaic word, the first and second kingdoms also ruled the nations they had conquered at their respective times. It's more likely that the said phrase is giving more weight to the third kingdom's conquest of the realm of the inferior Persian kingdom than its governance. Moreover, the Aramaic word bear rule in the verse seems to be telling how the whole earth is to be taken. Here is its definition. The word was rendered ruler 4 times in the Old Testament, King James Version, once as bear rule, and once as have the mastery. As for the latter, here is the verse.
"And the king commanded, and they brought those men that had accused Daniel, and they cast them into the den of lions, them, their children, and their wives. And the lions had the mastery of them, and brake all their bones in pieces before they came to the bottom of the den."
Clearly, the verse doesn't have any sense of governance but rather of destruction. Could it be that, in this way, the word H7981 is used in Daniel 2:39?
"And after thee shall arise another kingdom, inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall have the mastery over the entire earth."
This interpretation agrees with the vision of the ram and goat.
"And as I was considering, behold, and he goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground, and the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his 2 horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground, and stamped upon him. And there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand.
According to historians, it was the dream of Alexander's father and of many Greeks at the time to conquer the Persian Achaemenid Empire, in consequence to the Persians' repeated invasions of their lands a century earlier. Does that explain the he-goat's fury in verse 6? Watch history's timeline visuals of Alexander's conquests. Note the land or lands they had taken. The color red details the Persian realm and its boundaries. Daniel 2:39b refers to Alexander's conquest of the inferior kingdom, including maybe its administration, whereas Daniel 7:6 speaks of a dominion or jurisdiction granted to his kingdom after his time. The dominion could very well be the kingdom, which is in singular form in the explanation of the vision of the ram and goat.
And the rough goat is the king of Gracia, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. Now that being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance, and understanding dark sentences, shall stand up.
Twice, we've touched on the vision of the ram and goat. Difficult questions will arise and beg for answers. So, before this video ends, here are some thoughts that might be of help. When will it happen? Some claim that the particular vision of 2,300 evenings and mornings is still in the future, while others assert it has already occurred at the time of Antiochus IV Epiphanes. It is stated in Daniel 8:17.
So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid, and fell upon my face. But he said unto me, Understand, O Son of Man. For at the time of the end shall be the vision.
Let's examine the Hebrew word translated as time. Look at the 2 Hebrew characters that consist of the word time. Together, they make up the root or lexeme word of time, but in verse 17, the word is prefixed with another Hebrew character, the 12th letter, which is named lamed or lamed. Let's consult Wikipedia regarding the Hebrew letter lamed. The word H6256, which is already prefixed with lamed, can mean for era or to era. Now, look at the preceding word key, H3588, translated as that, in the ISA Interlinear Bible. Here are its definitions. So, Daniel chapter 8 verse 17 could be translated as,
So he came near where I stood. And when he came, I was afraid, and fell upon my face. But he said unto me, Understand, O Son of Man. until to time of end, shall be the vision.
Events for both before and during the time of the end are undoubtedly included in the whole vision of the ram and goat. From whom or from where will the little horn come forth? Let's have a closer look at the first part of Daniel chapter 8 verse 9. Note that the first occurrence of the word, one, has a definite article, which is missing from most English translations. Now, look at the transliteration of the Hebrew form of H1992, from dem, m. The em is them. The single character m at the first position is a prefix, and it is the Hebrew letter mem. It was translated above as from. As stated by M. Wittenberg, min is defined as a preposition which contracts into mem. According to the article, the preposition min, from Hebrew4Christians.com, the preposition min can both appear as an inseparable or independent preposition. Now, here's BDB's definition of min. Since the word kingdom in verse 23 is in singular form and the first instance of 1, H259, in verse 9 has a definite article, the most likely translation of the adjacent words H259 and H1992 in verse 9, that will conform to verse 8, in my opinion, is the one after them. Another thing is that the first Hebrew word of verse 9, and from, is the independent min, prefixed with a conjunction. It would be a good idea here to consider the historical fact that no Byzantine emperor fits Daniel's description of the little horn. The little horn came forth, but not in lieu of something, unlike in the case of the four horns in the previous verse. The little horn had appeared in the realm of or on the side of the latter kingdom, and grew, but it did not replace nor continue the latter kingdom. Isn't this little horn a part of, and progenitor of the fourth beast?